Hey everyone, welcome to the video. We are talking about Visual Latin Lesson 5. In Visual Latin Lesson 5, we do talk about all of the different cases, and you can see them lined up here. And as you see, this pattern is going to repeat itself with other verbs and with adjectives, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's focus on these guys up here. Okay. So in Latin, there are 5 major cases. In Visual Latin, I've got 6 cases listed because I included the vocative. I didn't include the vocative on the charts for several reasons. Number one, we don't really call neuter objects. Use the vocative to call people. We don't call neuter objects. I suppose we could say, hey town, I'm talking to you, but that would be kind of weird. So I left the vocative off of the neuter for that reason. For the feminine, the vocative is exactly the same as the nominative, so that's easy. Really, the only place where the vocative shows up and makes a change is in the second declension neuter. Second declension masculine, and in that case, the US becomes an E. So I didn't really feel like adding a whole new box down here just for one letter. In some cases, like with filius, meaning son, it might end with an I. And then the plural is identical to the nominative. So really the only place I needed the vocative was right here. Usually it's an E, so I'm just going to put it there. So I just decided not to include it in the charts, just to save space. Okay. In Visual Latin 5, we start learning the cases and what they are used for. The nominative case is used for the subject of the sentence. So if we were telling a story about a horse, we could say there was a horse in the field, or a horse walked through the field. That horse is the subject of the sentence. On the plural side, horses walked through the field. The horses are the subject of the sentence. Over here with feminine words, a via stretched into the woods. The road stretched into the woods. The via is the subject of the sentence. The roads stretched into the woods. VA stretched into the woods. The roads are the subject of the sentence. Same with gift. The gift was fantastic. Gift is the subject of the sentence. The gifts were fantastic. It's plural, but it's still the subject of the sentence. That's what we use the nominative for. There are other uses for the nominative, and we'll talk about them as we get deeper into Visual Latin. With the genitive, really, I tell my students the clue word you want to use here is of. So if you see genitive, think of. Equi of the horse, equorum of the horses, viae of the road, viarum of the roads, doni of the gift, donorum of the gifts. So if you're showing possession, this is the tail of the horse, then use the genitive. If you can use the word of, use the genitive. With the dative, think about giving someone something. In fact, the Latin word dat means he, she, or it gives. I think we'll talk about that later when we talk about indirect objects. But with the dative, think of giving something to someone or something. So you can use the preposition to if you want to, or you can also use the preposition for as a clue word. To or for. So we brought oats to the horse, or we gave oats. We brought oats for the horse. We gave oats to the horse. Either way, the horse is getting the oats, and he's happy about it. We could give oats to the horses, equis. We could give a stripe to the road, because what else do you give a road? So VA would be to the road. We could give stripes to all of the roads. We could give that's odd, a gift to the gift. That doesn't really make much sense, but anyway. Or we could give a gift to all of the gifts, donis. The accusative is used for direct objects. So let's say you see the horse. The horse receives the action. He's a direct object. I always put direct objects in boxes whenever I'm parsing sentences with my students. I don't parse students. I parse sentences with my students. So if I saw the horse, vidi equum, I saw the horse. Vidi equos, I saw the horses. I saw the road, vidi viam. I saw the road, vidi viam. By the way, some people would say vidi viam, that's classical pronunciation. I use ecclesiastical pronunciation. It's the same language, just different pronunciations. Sort of like English is the same language in England and in America, but English in England is spoken differently than English in America. Okay, so vidi viam, I see the road. Vidi vias, I see the roads. Vidi donum, I see the gift. Vidi dona, I see the gifts. And then the ablative is used with lots of prepositions. And we're going to be learning these throughout the course. But let's use cum, which means with. So we're walking through the field, cum equo, with the horse. Cum equis, with the horses. Cum via, we are going to another state. Cum via, with the road. Doesn't really make sense. We wouldn't actually use the preposition. That's something we'll get into later, but for now, just for example purposes, actually, let's change it to in. We are in the road. That would make more sense. In via, in viis, we are in the roads. And we're surprised about what's in dono, in the gift, in donis, in the gifts. And then, of course, if we wanted to call these things, the only one that's going to change would be equus. So we would use the vocative. Hey, horse, we would say eque. If we were calling the road, which would be odd, we would say hey via, and it wouldn't change. If we were calling the gift, well, why would we call the gift? We wouldn't. So you just don't call neuter objects. So we don't even change it. All right, and that would be the vocative, but I don't have it listed here. It's in lesson 5 in Visual Latin, but it's not here on the charts. Okay, on to lesson 6.